ओम श्री कृष्ण शरणं मम गोपिका जीवन स्मरणं गोविंदा गोविंदा सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय। शुक्लां भरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। नमो नमः सद्गुरुभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो नमः सद्गुरुभ्यो नमो नमः। सच्चिदानन्दरूपाय विश्वोत्पत्त्यादिहेतवे तापत्रय विनाशाय श्रीकृष्णाय वयं नुमः। यं प्रव्रजन्तमनुपेतमपेतकृत्यं द्वैपायनो विरह कातर आजुहाव पुत्रेति तन्मयतया तरवोऽभिनेदुः तं सर्वभूतहृदयं मुनिमानतोऽस्मि। यस्वानुभावमखिलश्रुतिसारमेकम् अध्यात्मदीपम् अतितितीर्षतां तमोन्धं संसारिणां करुणयाः पुराणगुह्यं तं व्याससूनुम् उपयामि गुरुं मुनीनां। योगीन्द्राय नमस्तस्मै शुकाय ब्रह्मरूपिणे संसारसर्पदष्टं यो विष्णुरातम् अमूमुचत् कालव्यालमुखग्रास त्रासनिर्नाशहेतवे श्रीमद्भागवतं शास्त्रं कलौकीरेण भाषितम् एतस्मादपरं किञ्चित् मनःशुद्ध्यै न विद्यते जन्मान्तरे भवेत् पुण्यं तदा भागवतं लभेत् ज्ञानवैराग्यसम्पूर्णान् हरिभक्तिपरायणान् पूर्वाचार्यादहं वन्दे सम्प्रदायप्रवर्तकान् भगवन्नाम साम्राज्यं लक्ष्मी सर्वस्वविग्रहं श्रीमद्बोधेन्द्रयोगीन्द्र देशिकेन्द्रम् उपास्महे। कलिकालोचितं धर्मं नाम संकीर्तनात्मकं निर्णेतुमवतीर्णं तं प्रेमिकं सद्गुरुं भजे। हरे रामेति कृष्णेति नाम संकीर्तनं सदा लोकक्षेमाय कुर्वन्तं प्रेमिकं सद्गुरुं भजे। जन्माद्यस्य यतोऽन्वयात् इतरतश्चार्तेष्वभिज्ञस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्महृदाय आदिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि धर्मः प्रोज्झितकैतवोऽत्र परमो निर्मत्सराणां सतां वेद्यं वास्तवमत्र वस्तु शिवदं तापत्रयोन्मूलनम् श्रीमद्भागवते महामुनिकृते किं वा परैरीश्वरः सद्यो हृद्यवरुध्यतेऽत्र कृतिभिः शुश्रूषिभिस्तक्षणात् निगमकल्पतरोर्गलितं फलं शुकमुखात् अमृतद्रवसंयुतं पिबत भागवतं रसमालयं मुहुरहो रसिका भुवि भावुकाः नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। श्रीमद्भागवताख्योऽयं प्रत्यक्षः कृष्ण एव हि स्वीकृतोऽसि मया नाथ मुख्यर्थं
मुख्यर्थं
भवसागरे
भवसागरे
मनोरथो
मनोरथो मदीयो
मदीयोऽयं सफलः सर्वथा त्वया निर्विघ्नेनैव कर्तव्यो दासोऽहं तव केशव। श्रीहरे नमः। श्रीहरे नमः। श्रीहरे नमः। गोपिका जीवन स्मरणं गोविंदा गोविंदा सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय। Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining on the long weekend. Very limited crowd today, but we'll continue. So we won't do the review since we have a small group today. So we'll start with the 22nd chapter from the 14th stanza. Okay. Madhu, you can be a student, and Shanti, you can be a student. So it starts from 14. Bhavatsu Kushala Prashnaha. So add a visarga there, comma, Prashnaha. Atma Rameshu Neshyate. Kushala Kushala Yatra, comma, Na Santi Mativrittayah. Bhavatsu Kushala Prashnaha. Atma Rameshu Neshyate. Kushala Kushala Yatra. न सन्ति मतिवृत्तयः।
भवत्सु कुशलप्रश्नः आत्मा रामेषु नेष्यते कुशला कुशला यत्र न सन्ति मतिवृत्तयः।
Shanti, you're on mute. Okay. Second half. Jai Shri Shankar, can you be student then?
Yeah.
Okay.
भवत्सु कुशलप्रश्नः आत्मा रामेषु नेष्यते कुशला यत्र न सन्ति मतिवृत्तयः
तदहं कृत विश्रम्भः सुहृदो वस्तपस्विनां सम्पृच्छे भव एतस्मिन् क्षेमः केनाञ्जसा भवेत् तदहं कृतविश्रम्भः सुहृदो वस्तपस्विनां सम्पृच्छे भव एतस्मिन् क्षेमः केनाञ्जसा भवेत्
तदहं कृतविश्रम्भः सुकृतो वस्तपस्विनां सम्पृच्छे भव एतस्मिन् क्षेमः केनाञ्जसा भवेत्
तदहं कृतविश्रम्भः सुहृदो वस्तपस्विनां सम्पृच्छे भव एतस्मिन् क्षेमः केनाञ्जसा भवेत्.
And the kshemah ich sound instead of kshemah, kshemah
Oh,
kenanjasa.
okay, thanks.
Vyaktam atma batam atma, bhagavan atma bhavanah swanam anugrahayemam, siddha rupi charatyajah. Vyaktamatmavatamatma Bhagavan Atma Bhavanah Swanam Anugrahayemam Siddharupi Charatyajah.
व्यक्तमात्मवदामात्मा भगवान् आत्मभावनः स्वानाम् अनुग्रहो ये मां सिद्धरूपी सरत्यजः.
Second line Anugrahayemam.
Okay. स्वानाम् अनुग्रहाये मां
व्यक्तम् आत्मवतामात्मा भगवान् आत्मभावनः स्वानाम् अनुग्रहाये मां सिद्धरूपी चरत्यजः.
Maitreyo Vacha Pritos Suktam Akarnya, Saram Sushtu Mitam Madhu Smayamana Iva Pritya, Kumarah Pratyuvachah. Maitreya Uvacha Pritostat Suktamakanya Saram Sushtumitam Madhu Smayamana Iva Pritya Kumarah Pratyuvachah.
मैत्रेय उवाच प्रीतोस्तत् सूक्तम् आकर्ण्य सारं सुष्टुम् इदं मधु स्मयमान इव प्रीत्या कुमार प्रत्युवाचः.
ऋतोस्तत्सूक्तमाकर्ण्य सारं सुष्टुमिथं मधु स्मयमान इव प्रीत्या कुमारः प्रत्युवाचः.
You have that Maitreyo Vacha, right? Just before that.
I missed that.
Yeah. Okay, no
Maitreya.
worries. Yeah. Sanat Kumaro Vacha Sadhu Prishtam Maharaja, Sarva Bhuta Hitatmana Bhavata Vidusha Chapi, Sadhunam Matir Idrishi. Sanat Kumaro Vacha Sadhu Prishtam Maharaja Sarva Bhuta Hitatmana Bhavata Vidusha Chapi Sadhunam Matir Idrishi.
सनत् कुमार उवाच साधु पृष्ठं महाराज सर्वभूतहितात्मना भवता विदुषा चापि साधूनां मतिरीदृशी.
सनत्कुमार उवाच साधु पृष्टं महाराज सर्वभूतहितात्मना भवता विदुषा चापि साधूनां मतिरीदृशी.
Sangamah Khalu Sadhunam, breaking at that ma, Ubhayesham cha sammatah Yat Sambhashana Samprashnah, Sarvesham Vitanoti Sham. संगमः खलु साधूनाम् उभयेषां च सम्मतः यत्सम्भाषणसम्प्रश्नः सर्वेषां वितनोति शम्
सङ्गमः खलु साधूनाम् उभयेषां च सम्मतः यत्सम्भाषणसम्प्रश्नः सर्वेषां विदनोति शम्
सङ्गमः खलु साधूनाम् उभयेषां च सम्मतः यत्सम्भाषणसम्प्रश्नः सर्वेषां वितनोति शम्
अस्त्येव राजन् भवतो मधुद्विषः पादारविन्दस्य गुणानुवादने रतिर्दुरापा विधुनोति नैष्ठिकी कामं कषायं मलम् अन्तरात्मनः अस्त्येव राजन् भवतो मधुद्विषः पादारविन्दस्य गुणानुवादने रतिर्दुरापा विधुनोति नैष्ठिकी कामं कषायं मलमन्तरात्मनः
आस्त्येव राजन् भवतो मधुद्विषः पादारविन्दस्य गुणानुवादने रतिर्दुरापा विधुनोति नैष्ठिकी कामं कषायं मलमन्तरात्मनः
The first word, Madhu, astyeva. Yeah.
अस्त्येव
अस्त्येव राजन् भवतो मधुद्विषः पादारविन्दस्य गुणानुवादने रतिर्दुरापा विधुनोति नैष्टिकी कामं कषायं मलम् अन्तरात्मनः
Shastreshviyanev, cannot break that word. Shastreshviyanev sunischito nrinam, kshemasya sadryag. Okay, if you want English spelling of it is Sadhryaag. I'll just type it in there because some in Sanskrit it's difficult to follow that.
SADHRY.
Yeah, I'm typing it again. I just put it in the chat.
How D Sadryag?
Yeah. DH.
Okay. Yeah, got it. Thanks.
Kshemasya sadryak bimrusheshu hetuhu asanga atma vyatirikta atmani, dridha ratir brahmani nirgunechaya. शास्त्रेष्वियानेव सुनिश्चितो नृणां क्षेमस्य सद्र्यग् विमृशेषु हेतुः असंग आत्म व्यतिरिक्त आत्मनि दृढा रतिर्ब्रह्मणि निर्गुणे च या
शास्त्रेष्वियानेव सुनिश्चितो नृणां क्षेमस्य साद्र्यग् विमृशेषु हेतुः असंग आत्म व्यतिरिक्त आत्मनि दृढारतिर्ब्रह्मणि निर्गुणाचया निर्गुणे चया.
And the sadryak, you said sadryak.
Okay, sadryak vimrusheshu. Okay.
शास्त्रेष्वियानेव सुनिश्चितो नृणां क्षेमस्य सद्र्यग् विमृशेषु हेतुः असंग आत्मव्यतिरिक्त आत्मनि दृढारतिर्ब्रह्मणि निर्गुणे च या
सा श्रद्धया भगवद् धर्मचर्यया, जिज्ञासयाध्यात्मिक, one word, adhyatmika, but the double S, so it goes together. Jignasayadhyatmika yoga nishtaya yogeshwaropasanaya cha nityam, punya shrabah kataya punyaya cha. सा श्रद्धया भगवद्धर्मचर्यया जिज्ञासयाध्यात्मिकयोगनिष्ठया योगेश्वरोपासनया च नित्यं पुण्यश्रवः कथया पुण्यया च.
So jignasa, can you repeat that?
And the word jignasayadhyatmika, it will just flow as like one word.
Okay. सा श्रद्धया भगवद्धर्मचर्यया जिज्ञासया यात्मिक योगनिष्ठया. करेक्टா சொன்னேனா?
இல்ல, அந்த வேர்டு ஆத்யாத்மிக.
Okay.
Okay, ஜிக்ஞாசயா ஆத்யாத்மிக. அந்த ரெண்டு வேர்டு if you put it together, the a's will just flow as common to a.
जिज्ञासया यात्मिक.
जिज्ञासयाध्यात्मिक.
Okay. जिज्ञासया यात्मिक. I'm sorry, I'm doing something wrong.
So the one is like jignasaya adhyat.
Oh, Adhyatmika.
So I just typed it in there. So on the two words which are there, the two A's of Jignasaya and the two A's of Adhyatmika becomes one.
Oh, okay.
So the two A's, you don't have to say 2A here, 2A here. It just becomes, when they join, they just become one set of two A's. That's why it goes together. Jignasaya Adhyatmika.
Okay. Jignasaya yatmika.
Dhyatmika. Dhyatmika.
Jignasaya yatmika. Oh,
finish it. I'll yeah.
Oh, can you repeat it, because I'm not getting it.
Yeah, one second. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Okay, just see the last word I typed right now, Madhu, in the chat.
Yadmika.
Dhyatmika. Jignasaya Dhyatmika.
Okay. Jignasaya Dhyatmika.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Mika yoga nishtaya yogeshwaropasanayana cha nityam punyashravakadaya punyaya cha.
सा श्रद्धया भगवद्धर्मचर्यया जिज्ञासयाध्यात्मिकयोगनिष्ठया योगेश्वरोपासनया च नित्यं पुण्यश्रवकथया पुण्यया च.
अर्थेन्द्रियाराम स गोष्ट्य तृष्णया, तत् सम्मतानां, breaking at that ma, सम्मतानां अपरिग्रहेण च विविक्त रुच्या परितोष आत्मन्, विना हरेर् गुण पीयूष पानात्. अर्थेन्द्रियारामसगोष्ट्य तृष्णया तत्सम्मतानाम् अपरिग्रहेण च विविक्त रुच्या परितोष आत्मन् विना हरेर् गुण पीयूष पानात्.
अर्थेन्द्रियारामसगोष्ट्य तृष्ण्या तत्सम्मदानाम् अभिरिग्रहेण च विविक्तरुच्या परिदोष आत्मन् विना हरे गुणपीयूषपानात्.
And the first line just before the comma, Goshtya Trishnaya.
Goshtya Trishnaya. Okay.
Yeah.
अर्थेन्द्रियारामसघोष्ट्य तृष्णया तत्सम्मतानाम अपरिग्रहेण च विविक्तरुच्या परितोष आत्मन विना हरेर्गुणपीयूषपानात्.
The second line, Atman, just before the comma, Paritosha Atman.
நான் வேற மாதிரி சொன்னேனா?
Atmana, I heard. It's just Atman.
Atman. Okay, it's in. Yeah, sorry.
Ahimsaya Paramahamsya Charyaya, Smritya Mukunda Charitagriya. One word. Mukunda Acharita Agriya. 3 words together. Mukunda Charitagriya Sidhuna Yamair Akamair Niyamaish Chapyanindaya. So those you can break it, Nirihaya Dvandva Titikshaya cha. Ahimsaya Paramahamsya Charyaya Smritya Mukunda Charitagriya Sidhuna Yamaira Kamair Niyamaish Chapyanindaya Nirihaya Dvandva Titikshaya cha.
Ahimsaya Paramahamsya Charyaya स्मृत्या मुकुन्दा सरिदाक्र्यसीदुना यमैरगामैर्नियमैश्चाभ्यनिन्दया निरीहया द्वन्द्वतिदिक्षया च
अहिंसया पारमहंस्यचर्यया स्मृत्या मुकुन्दा चरिताग्रसीधुना यमैरकामैर्नियमैश्चाप्यनिन्दया निरीहया द्वन्द्वतितिक्षया च
हरेर् मुहुस्तत् पर कर्ण पूर put a plus गुणाभिधानेन विजृम्भमानया, so that line is together, bhaktya hyasangas sadasatyanatmani, comma, syan nirgune brahmani chanjasa ratihi. हरेर्मुहुस्तत्परकर्णपूरगुणाभिधानेन विजृम्भमानया भक्त्या ह्यसङ्गः सदसत्यनात्मनि स्यान्निर्गुणे ब्रह्मणि चाञ्जसारथिः.
हरेर्मुकुस्तत्परकर्णपूरगुणाभिधानेन विजृम्भमाणया भक्त्या ह्यसङ्गः सदसत्यनात्मनि स्यान्निर्गुणे ब्रह्मणि साञ्जसारथिः
हरेर्मुहुस्तत्परकर्णपूरगुणाभिधानेन विजृम्भमाणया भक्त्या ह्यसङ्गः सदसत्यनात्मने स्यान्निर्गुणे ब्रह्मणि चाञ्जसारथिः
यदा रतिर् ब्रह्मणि नैष्ठिकी पुमान् इन् आचार्यवान् ज्ञान विराग रंहसा दहत्य वीर्यं हृदयं जीवकोशं पंचात्मकं योनि मिबोत्थितोऽग्निः. That's one word. योनि मिबोत्थितोऽग्निः. यदा रतिर्ब्रह्मणि नैष्ठिकी पुमान् आचार्यवान् ज्ञानविरागरंहसा दहत्य वीर्यं हृदयं जीवकोशं पंचात्मकं योनिमिबोत्थितोऽग्निः.
यदा रतिर्ब्रह्मणि नैष्ठिकी पुमान् आचार्यवान् ज्ञानविरागरंहसा दहत्य वीर्यं हृदयं जीवकोशं पञ्चात्मकं योनिमिवोत्थितोऽग्निः
यदा रतिर्ब्रह्मणि नैष्ठिकी पुमान् आचार्यवान् ज्ञानविरागरं हसा दहत्य वीर्यं हृदयं जीवकोशं पञ्चात्मकं योनिम् इवोत्थितोऽग्निः.
The first line, last word, Jayashri, gya, you said it's a jnana viragarambhasa.
Jnana,
Yeah, just not the gha sound is not there, just jnana.
Okay, thanks.
Dhagdashayo mukta samasta tadguno, naivatmano bahirantar vichaste paratmanor yat vyavadhanam purastat, swapne yatha purushas tad vinashe. दग्धाशयो मुक्तसमस्ततद्गुणो नैवात्मनो बहिरन्तर्विचष्टे परात्मनोर्यद्व्यवधानं पुरस्तात् स्वप्ने यथा पुरुषस्तद्विनाशे.
दग्धाशयो मुक्तसमस्ततद्गुणो नैवात्मनो बहिरन्तर्विशष्टे परात्मनोर्यद्व्यवधानं पुरस्तात् स्वप्ने यदा पुरुषस्तद्विनाशे.
Rajesh, in the third line, the first word, Epri Cholnam, Parat Manor Yad Yavadhanama.
Vyavadhanam.
Vyavadhanam, okay. Sorry. Dagdhashayo Mukta Samasta Tadguno Naivatmano Bahir Antar Vichaste Paramatmanor Yad
Vyavadhanam
purastat swapne yatha purushastad vinashe.
The second line, first word, paratmanur.
Second.
You said Paramatmanor, Paratmanor Yad.
Paratmanor. Can you repeat that other word, Rajesh? Yad Vyavadhanam.
Paratmanor Yad Vyavadhanam. B-Y-A.
Yeah, got it. Thanks.
Vyavadhanam.
Vyavadhanam.
Atmanam Indriyartham cha, Param Yadubhayorapi Satyashaya Upadhau Vai, Puman Pashyadi Nanyada. Atmanam Indriyartham cha, Param Yadubhayorapi Satyashaya Upadhau Vai, Puman Pashyati Nanyada.
Atmanam indriyartam cha param yadubayorabi satyasaya ubhatau vai puman pashyati nanyata.
Atmanam indriyartham cha param yadubhayorapi satyashaya upadhau vai puman pashyati nanyada.
Nimitte sati sarvatra, Jaladapapi Purushah Atmanascha Parasyapi, Bhidam Pashyati Nanyada. Nimitte sati sarvatra Jaladapapi Purushah Atmanascha Parasyapi Bhidam Pashyati Nanyada.
Nimite sadi sarvatra jaladav abhi purushah atmanascha parasyabi pidam pashyadi nanyada.
Jaladavapi, and the word.
Jaladav abhi. Okay.
Nimitte sati sarvatra jaladav api purushah atmanascha parasyapi bidam pashyati nanyada.
We'll pause here. I'll just say the meaning. So I think 22nd, we haven't started the meaning yet. So just a recap, right? In 21st chapter, like we saw Prithu was performing a yajna. He then spoke to his citizens about, the karma, and then how whatever you do also influences other karma, and nothing happens by chance, nothing happens sort of random, right? It all is a process, structured process that happens. Then he talked about the Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas, right? How do you have to do more devotion to them? Then the citizens were like praising Prithu and thanking him for guiding them in the right direction. All of that was happening in 21. So in 22, what happens is when this is happening, the four Sanat Kumaras are essentially descending from the sky, right? So I think Bhagavan had said that the four Sanat Kumaras are going to come, which is Sanaka, Sanandana, Sanatana, Sanat Kumara. Four of them referred to as Sanat Kumaras. So they are the Manasa Putras of Brahma. They are the ones who first came, right? Before Rudra, everybody, the Sanat Kumaras had come. So they are descending. And they are like always, like shining, because, they are like completely, they are from the time they came out, they've been like, all we want is we just want to be praying and in devotion with Bhagavan. That's all they have been doing. So with the moment they were like descending from the sky, it was pretty obvious that some great personalities had come. So immediately, Prithu then rushes, to just receive them, welcome them. And he's very eager because he's been expecting, because Vishnu had told earlier that Sanat Kumaras are going to come to meet you and to give you more knowledge, right? So he's just very excited. So he welcomes them. He talks about how he's welcoming. He washes their feet, sprinkles the water on his head, and he's just very happy that they are there. And then he asks, first of all, he praises, because he says that the great yogis like Sanat Kumaras, although they are there, not many people get to witness. Like even in this entire Bhagavatam, you'll see only certain people get to opportunity to meet them. So he says, I feel very blessed because I don't know what I have done. It must be because of all the good karma I have done of taking care of the Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas, everything, that I'm even getting an opportunity that the Sanat Kumaras are coming to meet me, right? So because they are traveling all over, but nobody gets to meet them, right? So somehow Prithu is getting this opportunity to meet them. And that's where he kind of, also talks about that somebody coming to a house like this, somebody like the Sanat Kumaras coming and visiting him, makes it more pious than having a big house nobody else is visiting, right? So he says it's like if you have a massive house, and the example they give is you have a big house, but if the great Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas don't come, it is like having a snake pit at the bottom of a big tree, The tree could be big, but the tree is of no use because it's just filled with snakes at the bottom, right? But a small house where the Brahmanas come is really blessed. So he thanks them. And then, like they always do, anytime a great personality comes, the first thing you got to do is get your questions answered. So Prithu is asking them the first question. He asks them a couple of questions. He says that, everybody who is here is so trapped in all of these sense enjoyments. They're stuck in this past karma. So he says, how does one ever get out of this? Because this, you have to extinguish all your karma. Like how do you get out of this extinguishing it? How can you very quickly extinguish your past karmas? That is the first question he asks. And then the second one is, how do you extinguish and how do you then continue to get liberated, right? So you kind of ask them a couple of questions like that to say, since you are there and you have all the information, you please answer that for the benefit of everybody. So that's the question that Prithu asked, for which Sanat Kumaro Vacha from 18, the Kumaras talk about multiple things. So the first thing they talk about is saying that they thank Prithu, because we're saying that although Prithu has all the knowledge, because if you remember, he got instructions from Brahma first, then he got instructions from Mahavishnu. So he already has all the knowledge, and then he gave instructions to his citizens. So even now, Prithu is asking, he says, Prithu, we know why you are asking, is you're asking for the benefit of everybody else. You already have the knowledge, but you are asking because them answering is going to benefit everybody else, right? So the first thing they start off by saying, what somebody needs to do, the first thing they start is, they actually say satsangam is very important. He says, because whenever devotees gather and somebody asks a question and somebody else is answering, it doesn't matter who asks and who answers. He says the moment such a conversation happens, then both of them benefit. It's not like the person telling benefits more, a person telling benefits less. Both of them equally benefit if the conversation is the right conversation about these things, right? And so then he goes on to this thing which everybody says, which we heard it like about 10 times already in Bhagavatam, which he says that the biggest problem everybody has is identifying that you are the body. And this everything is this. So everything associated with my body, everything associated with my relation is me. As long as people continue to think of it, there's no way out of it, right? So he says you have to stop thinking of it, which is not easy to say, but very hard to execute, right? So he says the only way you can do that is by putting your attachment towards something else. So he says you put that attachment, instead of getting attached to your body, you put that attachment towards Bhagavan, right? So for example, whatever you spend thinking about, that's what you always want, right? So you keep thinking about, wanting to buy a bigger house, or think about wanting to buy a car, or anything in your life that you want. That's what you constantly keep thinking. That's what keeps coming in your mind. It's very simple science. So he says it's very simple. You keep thinking about Bhagavan all the time, then naturally that's what is going to come in your mind. Nothing else is going to come in your mind, right? And you all can put it to test, before you go for your prayers. I'm serious about this, right? Before you go to your prayers, you sit for your prayers, you play a film song like 2 times on your phone, and you go sit down to pray. That film song is going to keep coming in your mind. It really will, because it's happened, right? But same time, you put Vishnu Sahasranam or something before you even go down to pray. The moment you get to pray, then you are able to focus on the prayer, because that's what is getting stuck in your mind, right? That's what he's saying is, if you keep thinking about other things, that other thing is always going to keep coming in your mind. So you just keep thinking about Bhagavan all the time, because then nothing else will come and interrupt you, right? And he says, how do you get that attachment towards Bhagavan? Like everybody has said, very simple. You hear about his qualities, you talk about his qualities, you chant about it, you worship about it, and you practice bhakti yoga, right? You just do this. And that, if you cannot do it on your own, go and join a satsangam where they're doing it, because then you are naturally pulled. That's step number 1. And the step number 2, he says, is at the same time, as much as possible, avoid spending time with people who are on the opposite side of it. Because what happens is, then you are going to go in the opposite direction. That doesn't mean don't go hang out with friends who are not in satsangam, right? The point being that the more time you hang out with people who are not in satsangam, you're going to get distracted, and you're going to go in the opposite side, right? So it's going to dilute all the thing that you are doing. So, depending on your priorities, that's the first thing he says. The second thing Sanat Kumaras talk about is like the quality of a true devotee, right? Like we saw in Kapilopakyanam, he talks about you should be non-violent. You should, always be thinking about it. You should not criticize other people. You should be, whatever difficulties are coming your way or good things are coming your way, you should remain steadfast. You should not go up and down depending on good things and bad things which are actually coming. And he says, with more and more of this, as devotion builds, if you go back to the earlier Bhagavata Mahatmyam, we saw Bhakti Devi was with two children, right? Jnana and Vairagya, knowledge and detachment. So he says, as this bhakti comes up more and more for you, jnanam goes up and detachment also goes up. Detachment from other things, right? That will also go up. He says that is the simplest way. You should increase your bhakti. Naturally, these other two things will come up and it will just burn everything else, which is actually destroying, which is, distractions, which are all there. That is the simplest way that even the Sanat Kumaras are telling. And then they kind of little bit go on to talk about like the mind itself, right? Like it says how it is difficult. The mind is always going to be restless. Like we said, two things, right? On mind, we've seen before, even in Kapilopakyanam, you can do a scientific approach of saying if your mind is getting distracted, always remember the mind is the controller of all the senses. The moment you see a sweet you like, right? You haven't tasted that sweet, but you're just seeing that sweet, you instantly like it. That is because of your mind. Because the mind knows that I've eaten that sweet before, I've had a good taste of that sweet before, so I'm going to like it. So even though you didn't eat it right now, that's what your mind is controlling. Scientifically, I'm telling. But you have your intellect, which is one level above the mind, which can step in and say, don't eat that sweet, right? That is one way you can control your mind. Is your mind can still say I want it, but your intellect has to step in and say don't. That is one way. The second way is if you're not able to prevent your mind from wandering around, your intellect is not kicking in, is you put your mind to use in some other direction. Because your mind is always going to be wandering. You cannot control your mind. So he says that's what he's saying here. You just go in and you start putting your mind towards more religious things. Gradually, it will then start occupying its time towards religious things, which means it's not going to get distracted towards other things, right? So that is the way he's taking, which is very similar to what in Kapilopakyanam also, we spoke about, right? So anyway, so he talks about all of these things, and then he talks about the distraction everybody has, all things we know. So finally, he's recommending Sanat Kumar as, he's saying the final recommendation. He says that this world of ignorance which we all live in, it is just very, very difficult, very, very complicated, because we just get sucked into so many things, right? So it's very difficult to come out of it. So he says, what do you call, Prutu, the question you're asking is a valid question. Although you might understand it, it's very difficult to execute it, right? And that's because he says people think that being rich is better than being poor. Being powerful is better than being ordinary. If somebody is born in a more aristocratic position, they think that is better than somebody who's not. But he says all of this is temporary, because this is just one portion of your one life, of your entire soul, right? So you only think of a very small time zone in your life and you're trying to optimize it. You think of the big journey of your soul. This is very irrelevant, right? Everything that is happening here. So you have to think of the bigger picture of your soul, which is to get out of these things. Otherwise, all of this will seem important, but none of this is actually important. That's what Sanat Kumar is saying. So he says that the net takeaway is, when you are in this ocean, so struggling to pass through the ocean with all the difficulties, how do you cross the ocean? You need a boat. He says that boat is Bhagavan. So you make Bhagavan the boat, and then you ride on him, right? And then he will then take you and cross the path. So that's what essentially he just summarizes this, Sanat Kumara. So they give a long description from 18 to about 40, right? 22 stanzas of knowledge the Sanat Kumaras are giving Prutu, and for everybody else. So I'll just quickly summarize it, but we'll switch here and then come back to what Prutu says.
Rajesh, I have a question. So mind is the culprit for everything, right? So is it possible?
Culprit கிடையாது. அது எப்படின்னாக்கா, that's its job.
Oh, okay. So is it possible to achieve a state of no mind?
இல்ல, அது பண்ண முடியாது.
Okay.
Yeah, because like I said, there is only two ways, right? The mind is, it's like default. It's like a mathematical formula, right? It is implicit, right? Like if you don't eat meat, right, which you don't, you see fish, you have an aversion to eating fish, right? So, but you have not eaten fish though, right? But the moment you see the fish, you don't feel like eating it, right? Because you're just so conditioned over all these years of not liking something. So other one you cannot like, it's not possible. The only way you cannot control the mind is just mathematically, it is just going to work. That's where the intellect has to come to step in to say one way or the other.
Got it. Thank you.
So that's where the intellect is one level above, and we're going to go into 6 chapters of Puranjanopakyana, which is beautifully explaining all of these things. But we'll wait on that. But yeah, so that is but the mind வந்து control பண்றது intellect ஆல தான் control பண்ண முடியும். Mind cannot control itself. It's just standard formula. So
thank you.
okay. All right. நம்ம எங்க நிறுத்தினோம்?
29.
Oh, 29 we finished. Okay. All right. We'll start from 30. Anandji, you can be student, and Shanti, you can be student. Indriyair Vishaya Krishtaihi. So the Ra goes away, Visarga, comma, Krishtaihi. Akshiptam Dhyayatam Manaha. Chetanam Harate Buddhehe, comma, Stambas Toyamiva Hradat. Indriyair Vishaya Krishtaihi. Akshiptam Dhyayatam Manaha. Chetanam Harate Buddhehe. Stambastoyam iva hradat.
इन्द्रियैर्विषयाकृष्टैः आक्षिप्तं ध्यायता मनः चेतनां हरदे बुद्धेः स्तम्भस्तोऽयमिव हृदात्
इन्द्रियैर्विषयाकृष्टैः आक्षिप्तं ध्यायतां मनः चेतनां हरते बुद्धेः स्तम्भस्तोऽयमिव ह्रतात्.
This one is giving a very nice example. It is saying that when you have, all of you are probably very good gardeners, when you have a tree or you have whatever plants you have, you put water around it. You see a lot of water there. You do not see the water decreasing in quantity. You don't see it, but after a point, the water is gone, right? But the plant is constantly absorbing water, but you are not seeing how it is gradually going down. You can't see it. But over a point, the water is gone. So, it has absorbed the water. He says your mind is restless like that. It might not seem like your mind is getting distracted, but your mind is constantly getting distracted with a lot of other things. And at a point in time, it might feel like it is not getting distracted, but when it all builds up, it is completely distracted. It is just running from here and there, doing multiple things. When you look at a period of time, it is just spending time on useless thoughts. But at a point in time, you can't see that happening, just like you can't see the tree drinking a drop of water at a point in time. But over a time, the water extinguishes, right? That's exactly what he's telling here. And that's why it's difficult to observe these things. Brashyatyanusmritischittam. So this is a little bit of a tough word. Brashyatyanusmritischittam, comma, Jnana Bhramshas Smritikshaye Tadrodham Kabayah Prahuhu. Again, the Ra goes away. Prahuhu, Visarga, comma, Atma Pannavam Atmanaha. So the ich is silent there. Pannavam, ich, P-A-H-N, but the H is silent. Brashyatyanusmritischittam jnana bhramshasmritikshaye tadrodham kavayah prahuhu atma pannavam atmanah.
भ्रश्यत्यनुस्मृतिश्चित्तम् अज्ञानभ्रंशस्मृतिक्षये तद्रोधं कवयः प्राहुः आत्मापन्नवमात्मनः
पश्यत्यनुस्मृतिश्चित्तं ज्ञानब्रह्मस्मृतिक्षये तद्रोधं कवयः प्राहुः आत्मा बन्नवम् आत्मनः.
In the first line, Bhramshas Smritikshaye. Jnana
Bhramshasmritikshaye.
Yeah. Nataf parataro loke, comma, Pumsas swartha vyatikramaha Yadhadyanyasya, one word. Yadhadyanyasya preyastvam, breaking at that ma, im, comma, atmana swa vyatikramat. नातः परतरो लोके पुंसः स्वार्थव्यतिक्रमः यदध्यन्यस्य प्रेयस्त्वम् आत्मनः स्वव्यतिक्रमात्
नादः परतरो लोके पुंसः स्वार्थव्यतिक्रमः यदध्यनस्य प्रेयस्त्वम् आत्मनः स्वव्यतिक्रमात्
नादः परतरो लोके पुंसस्वार्थव्यतिक्रमः यदत्यनस्य प्रेयेस्त्वम् आत्मनस्वव्यतिक्रमात्
अर्थेन्द्रियार्थाभिध्यानम्, again one long word, cannot break it. अर्थेन्द्रियार्थाभिध्यानम्, comma, सर्वार्था पन्नवो नृणाम् भ्रंशितो ज्ञान vijnanath. If you have a D there, we're going to break it into a it and a A. So jnana vijnanath, comma, yena vishati mukhyatam. Arthendriyartabhidhyanam sarvartha pannavo nrinam भ्रंशितो ज्ञान विज्ञानात् येना विशति मुख्यताम्.
अर्धेन्द्रियार्थाभिध्यानम् सर्वार्थापन्नवो नृणाम् भ्रंशितो ज्ञानविज्ञानात् येनाविशति मुख्यताम्
अर्थेन्द्रियार्थाभिज्ञानं सर्वार्थापन्नवो नृणां भ्रंशितो ज्ञानविज्ञानात् येनाविशदि मुख्यताम्
न कुर्यात् कर्हिचित् संगम, comma, तमस् तीव्रं तितीरिषुः धर्मार्थ काम मोक्षाणां, comma, यदत्यन्त विघातकम्. न कुर्यात् कर्हिचित् संगम तमस् तीव्रं तितीरिषुः धर्मार्थ काम मोक्षाणां यदत्यन्त विघातकम्.
न कुर्यात् कर्हिचित् सङ्गम् तमस्तीव्रं तितीरिषुः धर्मार्थकाममोक्षाणाम् यदत्यन्तविघातकम्
न कुर्याद् गर्हिषित् सङ्गं तमस्तीव्रं दिदीरुषुः धर्मार्थकाममोक्षाणां यदत्यन्तविघातकम्
तत्रापि मोक्ष एवार्थः, add a visarga there, एवार्थः आत्यन्तिकतयेष्यते, one word, आत्यन्तिकतयेष्यते त्रैवर्ग्योर्थो, one word, त्रैवर्ग्योर्थो यथो नित्यं, comma, कृतान्त भय संयुतः. तत्रापि मोक्ष एवार्थः आत्यन्तिकतयेष्यते त्रैवर्ग्योर्थो यथो नित्यं कृतान्त भय संयुतः.
तत्रा विमोक्ष एवार्थः आत्यन्तिकतयेष्यते त्रैवर्ग्योर्थो यत् नित्यं कृतान्तये भयसंयुतः
तत्राभिमोक्ष एवार्थः आत्यन्तिकदयेष्यते त्रैवर्ग्योऽर्थो यदो नित्यं कृतान्तभयसंयुतः
परे वरे क्षये भावाः, आड विसर्गा there, comma, गुण व्यतिकरादनु न तेषां विद्यते क्षेमं, ब्रेकिंग एट दैट मा, comma, ईश विध्वंसिताशिषाम्. परे वरे च ये भावाः गुणव्यतिकरादनु न तेषां विद्यते क्षेमम् ईश विध्वंसिताशिषाम्.
परे वरे च ये भावाः गुणव्यतिकरादनु न तेषां विद्यते क्षेमम् ईश विध्वंसिताशिषाम्
परे वरे च ये भावाः गुणव्यतिकरातनो न तेषां विद्यते क्षेमम् ईश विध्वंसति दाशिषाम्
The word in me, ईश विध्वंसिताशिषाम्.
ईश विध्वंसिताशिषाम्.
Yeah. Tattvam Narendra Jagatamata Tastusham cha, comma, Dehendriya Sudishanatmabhir. Up to that one long word, cannot break it till that ra there. Dehendriya Sudishanatmabhir Avritanam. Yaha, so say that visarga. Yaha Kshetra Vit Tapataya Hridi Vishwagavihi, comma, Pratyak Chakasti Bhagavams Tamavehi Sosmi. So 4 stanzas are 4-liners. Tattvam Narendra Jagatamatastusham cha Dehendriyasu Dishanatma Viravritanam Yah Kshetra Vittapataya Hridi Vishwagavihi Pratyak Chakasti Bhagavams Tamavehi Sosmi.
Tattam Narendra Jagatamata Tatsusham cha Dehendriyasu Dishanatmabhiravrutanam Yah Kshetra Vittapataya Hridi Vishwagavihi Pratyakchakasti Bhagavam Tamavehi Sosmi.
तत्त्वं नरेन्द्र जगदामदतस्तु शां च देहेन्द्रियाशु दिशनात्मभिरावृधानां यः क्षेत्रवित्तपतया हृदि विश्वकाविः प्रत्यक्षकास्ति भगवांस्तमवेहि सोऽस्मि
So sa sound, sosmi.
सोऽस्मि
Yasmin nidham sadasad atmataya vibhati, comma, Maya viveka viduti sraji vahi buddhihi tam nitya mukta parishuddha vibuddha tattvam, comma, pratyudha karma kalila prakritim prapadhye. Yasminnidam sadasadatmataya vibhati Maya viveka viduti srajivahi buddhihi tam nitya mukta parishuddha vibuddha tattvam pratyudha karma kalila prakritim prapadhye.
ராஜேஷ்
Yasmin
என்னோட்ல விஷுத்த தத்துவம் போட்டிருக்கு தேர்ட் லைன்ல.
But okay, my has vibhuddha probably means the same thing. So we'll just change it to parishuddha vibhuddha tattvam.
Okay, thanks.
Yasminmitam sadasat atmataya vibhati Maya viveka viduti srajivahi buddhihi Tam nityamukta parishuddha vibuddha tattvam Pratyuda karma kalila prakritim prapadhye.
यस्मिन्निदं सदसत् आत्मतया विभाति माया विवेकविदुधिस्रजीवा हि बुद्धिः तं नित्यमुक्तपरिशुद्धविबुद्धतत्त्वं प्रत्यूढकर्मकलिलप्रकृतिं प्रबध्ये
Yet pada pankaja palasha vilasa bhaktya, comma, karmashayam gratitam udgrata yanti santah, one word, udgrata yanti santah, tadvanna rikta matayo yatayopi ruddha, put a plus, sroto ganas tamaranam bhaja vasudevam. He says that even the great jnanis who are there, even the great yogis who are there, even they struggle to control their senses. So he says, don't worry that, that you are not able to control your senses and mind, because it's not easy. He says even the greatest of people do that. So he's literally recommending to Prithu and everybody else is Bhaja Vasudevam. That is the simplest thing you can do. Always be praying to Vasudeva, then that way you don't have to worry about it. It will naturally bring things under control. You don't try to go and try to control your senses, because it's not going to be successful. It's going to be very hard to do that. Yat pada pankaja palasha vilasa bhaktya karmashayam gratita muggratayanti santah tadvanna rikta matayo yatayo piruddha sroto ganastamaranam bhaja vasudevam.
Yat pada pankajamalasha vilasa bhaktya karmashayam gratitam udgrata yanti sandaha tadvanna rikta matayo yatayo viruddha srodo ganas. तमरणं भज वासुदेवम्
यत्पादपङ्कजपलाशविलासभक्त्या कर्माशयं कृदिदम् उत्क्रदयन्ति सन्दः तत्त्वन्नरिक्तमदयो यदयोभिरुद्धश्रोतो गणास्त मरणं भज वासुदेवम्
कृच्छ्रो महानिह भवार्णवम् अप्लवेशां षड् वर्ग नक्रम् असुखेन तितीरशन्ति. So one word. तत्त्वं हरेर्भगवतो भजनीयम् अङ्घ्रिम् कृत्वोढुपं व्यसनम् उत्तर दुस्तरार्णम्. कृच्छ्रो महानिह भवार्णवमप्लवेशां षड्वर्गनक्रमसुखेन तितीरशन्ति. तत्त्वं हरेर्भगवतो भजनीयमङ्घ्रिम् कृत्वोढुपं व्यसनमुत्तर दुस्तरार्णम्.
कृच्छ्रो महानिह भवार्णवमप्लवेशां षड्वर्गनक्रमसुखेन तिदीर्षन्ति तत्त्वं हरेर्भगवतो भजनीयमङ्घ्रीं कृत्तोडुभं व्यसनमुत्तरदुस्तरार्णम्
कृच्छ्रो महानिह भवार्णवम् अप्लवेशां षट्वर्गनग्रम् असुकेन दिदीरशन्ति तत्त्वं हरेर्भगवतो भजनीयमङ्घ्रिम् कृत्वोडुबं दुस्तरार्णम्.
So up to this is the message that Sanat Kumaras are telling Prithu, which ends at 40. Maitreyo Vacha Sa evam Brahmaputrena, Kumarenatma Medasa Darshitatma Gatis Samyak. So put a ik there when you put a comma. Samyak, Prashasyo Vacha Tam Nripaha. Maitreyo Vacha Sa evam Brahmaputren Kumarenatmamedhasa Darshitatma Gatis Samyak Prashasyo Vacha Tam Nripaha.
मैत्रेय उवाच स एवं ब्रह्मपुत्रेण कुमारेण आत्ममेधसा दर्शितात्मगतिः सम्यक् प्रशस्योवाच तं नृपः
मैत्रेय उवाच स एवं ब्रह्मपुत्रेण कुमारेणात्ममेधसा दर्शितात्मगतिः सम्यक् प्रशस्योवाच तं नृपः
Rajo Vacha Krito Menugrahah Purvam, Harinarthanukampina, one word, Tama Padayitum Brahman, Bhagavan Yuyamagataha. Rajo Vacha Krito Menugrahah Purvam Harinarthanukampina Tama Padayitum Brahman Bhagavan Yuyamagataha.
राजोवाच कृतो मे निग्रहपूर्वं हरिणात्तानुकम्बिना तम्मापादयितुं ब्रह्मन् भगवन् यूयमागताः
राजोवाच कृतो मे नुग्रहपूर्वं हरिणार्तानुकम्बिना थमापादयितुं ब्रह्मन् भगवन् यूयमागताः
Nishpaditascha Karsnyena Bhagavatbhir Sadhu Chishtam Kime Sarvam, Kim Atmana Saha Kim Dade. Nishpaditascha Karsnyena Bhagavatbhir Sadhu Chishtam Kime Sarvam Atmana Saha Kim Dade.
निष्पादितश्च कार्त्स्नेन भगवद्भिर्गृणालुभिः साधुश्चिष्टं हि मे सर्वम् आत्मना सह किं ददे
निष्पादितश्च
Karsnyena
निष्पादितस्तकास्येन भगवद्भिर्गृणालुभिः साधुचिष्टं हि मे सर्वम् आत्मना सह किं ददे
Prana daras suta brahman, comma, grihascha sa parichadaha, rajyam balam mahi koshaha, add a visarga there, koshaha, iti sarvam niveditam. Pranadara suta brahman, grihascha sa parichadaha, rajyam balam mahi koshaha, iti sarvam niveditam.
प्राणाधारा सुधा ब्रह्मन् ग्रहाश्च सपरिच्छदाः राज्यं बलं महीकोश इति सर्वं निवेदितम्.
So the second line, that koshaha, just add a visarga there after kosha.
कोशः. Okay. Thank you, Rajesh.
प्राणातारा सुधा ब्रह्मन् गृहाश्च सपरिच्छताः राज्यं बलं बहिः कोशः इति सर्वं निवेदितम्
Sainapatyam cha rajyam cha, comma, danda netritvamev cha, sarva lokadhipatyam cha, comma, veda shastra vidarhati. Sainapatyam cha rajyam cha, danda netritvamev cha, sarva lokadhipatyam cha, veda shastra vidarhati.
सैनापत्यं च राज्यं च दण्डनेतृत्वमेव च सर्वलोकाधिपत्यं च वेदशास्त्रविदर्हति.
सैनापत्यं च राज्यं च दण्डनेतृत्वमेव च सर्वलोकाधिपत्यं च वेदः शास्त्रविदर्हति
Swameva brahmano bhunte, comma, swam vaste swam dadati cha, tasyaivanugrahenannam, one word, comma, bhunjate kshatriyadayah. Swameva brahmano bhunte, swam vaste swam dadati cha, tasyaivanugrahenannam, bhunjate kshatriyadayah.
त्वमेव ब्रह्मणो भुङ्क्ते संवस्ते ददाति च तस्यैवानुग्रहेणान्नं भुञ्जते क्षत्रियादयः.
The first line, second word, brahmano.
स्वमेव ब्राह्मणो.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rajesh.
स्वमेव ब्राह्मणो भुङ्क्ते स्वं वस्ते स्वं ददाति च तस्यैवानुगृहेणान्तं भुञ्जते क्षत्रियादयः
The second line, just before the comma, grahenannam, double na.
ग्रहेणान्नं yeah thanks
Yairi drishi bhagavato gatiratma vade, comma, ekantato nigamebif pratipaditanaha tushyantvadhabra, one word, tushyantvadhabra karunas swakritena nityam, comma, ko nama tat prati karoti vinoda patram. यैर्हीदृशी भगवतो गतिरात्मवादे एकान्ततो निगमेभिः प्रतिपादितानः तुष्यन्त्वदभ्रकरुणा स्वकृतेन नित्यं को नाम तत्प्रतिकरोति विनोदपात्रम्.
ऐरीदृशी भगवतो गतिरात्मवादे एकान्ततो निगमिभिः प्रतिपादितानः तुष्यन्तु दभ्रकरुणा स्वकृतेन नित्यं को नाम तत्प्रतिकरोति विनोदपात्रम्.
यैरीदृशि भगवतो कदिरात्मवादे एकान्तदो निगमिभिः प्रतिपादितानः दुष्यन्त्वदप्रकरुणाः स्वकृतेन नित्यं को नाम तत्प्रतिकरोति विनोदपात्रम्
The third line, first word ta sound, tushyantvadabra.
Okay.
Ta sound, okay. All right, we'll just pause here. I'm going to say a little bit of the meaning and we'll do the last section. So when Sanat Kumaras, right, they say this, give this knowledge. So Prithu, of course, he thanks them, because they've given all this, because it's directly coming from the source, like nobody after Brahma, it's just Sanat Kumaras who are there. So, he says that, I was already mentioned, Bhagavan Vishnu had mentioned to me that you all are going to come and you have actually done that. And then, you come and given me all of this knowledge. And that he thanks them, saying that these people like these, right, like Sanat Kumaras, who out of their own will are actually coming and sharing these things. So he feels that he needs to give them something because they have given them so much knowledge, right? So he wants to offer them a dakshina. But he also realizes that it's impossible to give something to somebody like a Sanat Kumaras. What do you give them, right? So he says, I cannot give you anything. So here in this thing in 45 and 46, he says, Saina Patyam Rajyam. He says, whatever I have, right? Everything that I have, including me, including my family, including my kingdom, including my home, including my wealth, every single possession I have, that is all I can give because I cannot give anything more than what I already have, right? So he says, every single thing that I have belongs to you, because nobody else can come. We can't put a dollar amount against what knowledge you actually said, right? And he says that it is people like you who do it out of compassion, so you cannot put a value against it. So I can only offer you everything I have, which I know you won't take because they are not doing it for that purpose anyways, right? But he wants to give something. So he says, please accept it as everything of mine is yours. Even if you don't take it, I'm just surrendering everything to you, because what else will he give, right? So he then thanks the Sanat Kumaras by, for giving them all of this knowledge and by guiding and everything. And then finally, the Sanat Kumaras then disappear into the sky, right? So they just leave because the knowledge has been given to Prithu and everything else. Then the rest of this chapter is little bit wrapping up Prithu Charitram, right? Because the next chapter is the absolute last one, which has some Palastuti. But this chapter, he talks about how, with this Prithu, he's got all this knowledge from Brahma, from Sanat Kumara, from Vishnu, everything. So he then followed his responsibilities exactly whatever he can to the best of his capability. And he was not getting attached to all of these things. He knew everything he was doing was because that's what Bhagavan wants him to do. That's what Vishnu had told him also then. Just carry out your duties, right? Don't worry about anything. Nothing is yours. So he doesn't get attached to any of those things. And then he started, rest of the time that he lived in, he became a proper, because he was also a king. So he's also married. Remember Archi, who is the Mahalakshmi's incarnation, who came as Archi. So he still has to follow the Grahastha lifestyle. He cannot quit that because the time has not come. Next chapter, he's going to go to Vanaprastham. So in this chapter, he's still following his Grahastha life. So to him and Archi had born 5 children. So at some point, Prithu then gave up the entire thing. He starts, giving up things to his children gradually, and then he starts following his duties and doing it in the right way. So that is kind of coming up. All of these people, Kapila Muni, Swayambhuva Manu, Dhruva, here Prithu, all of them are classic examples of how you can lead a Grahastha life, be married, have children, do your duties, but still do the right thing and not get attached to it. So they're actually saying none of this is telling that you have to quit your Grahastha life tomorrow and go, right? So they all are following that life, but doing things the right way. And when the time comes in the next chapter, he's going to renounce everything. But that's only after his sons were capable of taking the kingdom and everything was done, his duty was done, he then ends up going to the forest. But right now, he talks about how everything he's doing all the right things and still, being constantly devoted. So that kind of goes. And then some of the stanzas here, they start comparing him to different people. At the time, I'll tell the meaning of those. Okay, let's do one last. Let's see if we can push to complete it today, although I doubt it. Okay, Satya, you can be a student. Shobha, you want to be a student, Inki? Yes, we'll see. Okay, Maitreya Vacha.
Okay, Rajat, sorry, the press button time not used to.
Maitreya Vacha, ta atma yoga pataya, आदिराजेन पूजिताः शीलं तदीयं शंसन्तः खे भुवन् मिषतां नृणाम्. मैत्रेय उवाच त आत्मयोगपतय आदिराजेन पूजिताः शीलं तदीयं शंसन्तः खे भुवन् मिषतां नृणाम्.
मैत्रेय उवाच त आत्मयोगपतय आदिराजेन पूजिताः शीलं तदीयं शंसन्तः के भुवन्मिषतां नृणाम्.
त आत्मयोगपतय आदिराजेन पूजिताः शीलं तदीयं शंसन्तः के भुवन्मिषतां नृणाम्.
Maitreyo Vacha. Yeah, okay. Previous, just before that. Yeah, as long as you have it, yeah. Vainyastu dhuryo mahatam, comma, samstityadhyatma, one word, samstityadhyatma shikshaya, apta kamam ivatmanam, comma, mene, my book had mena, if you have mena, change it to mene, mene atmanya vastitah. वैन्यस्तु धुर्यो महतां संस्थित्याध्यात्मशिक्षया आप्तकामम् इवात्मानं मेने आत्मन्यवस्थितः.
वैन्यस्तु दुर्यो महतां संस्थित्याध्यात्मशिक्षया आप्तकामम् इवात्मानं मेने आत्मन्यवस्थितः.
वैन्यस्तु दुर्यो महतां संस्थित्यात्मशिक्षया आप्तकाममिवात्मानं मेने आत्मन्यवस्थितः.
कर्माणि च यथा कालं, यथा देशं यथा बलं, यथोचितं यथा वित्तम् इम, next word starts with the akarot brahma satkritam. So whatever according to his strength, according to the time, whatever needs to be done according to the time, according to his capacity and according to his capability, he started doing it. Karmani cha yatha kalam, yatha desham yatha balam, yatochitam yatha vittam, akarot brahma satkritam.
कर्माणि च यथा कालं यथा देशं यथा बलं यथोचितं यथा वित्तम् अकरोत् ब्रह्म सात्कृतम्.
कर्माणि च यथा कालं यथा देशं यथा बलं यथोचितं यथा विद्यम् अकरोत् ब्रह्म सात्कृतम्.
फलं ब्रह्मणि विन्यस्य, निर्विशङ्गः समाहितः कर्माध्यक्षं च मन्वानः, add a visarga there, आत्मानं प्रकृतेः परम्. फलं ब्रह्मणि विन्यस्य निर्विशङ्गः समाहितः कर्माध्यक्षं च मन्वानः आत्मानं प्रकृतेः परम्.
फलं ब्रह्मणि विन्यस्य निर्विशङ्गः समाहितः कर्माध्यक्षं च मन्वानः आत्मानं प्रकृतेः परम्.
फलं ब्रह्मणि विन्यस्य निर्विशङ्गः समाहितः कर्माध्यक्षं च मन्वानः आत्मानं प्रकृतेः परम्.
गृहेषु वर्तमानोऽपि, स साम्राज्यश्रियान्वितः नासज्जतेन्द्रियार्थेषु, one word, नासज्जतेन्द्रियार्थेषु, निरहं मतिरर्कवत्. गृहेषु वर्तमानोऽपि स साम्राज्यश्रियान्वितः नासज्जतेन्द्रियार्थेषु निरहं मतिरर्कवत्.
निरहं मतिर्
Yeah, niraham matir ir arkavat. Easy to break it that way.
Okay. गृहेषु वर्तमानोऽपि ससाम्राज्य श्रियान्वितः नासज्जतेन्द्रियार्थेषु निरहं मतिर्अर्कवत्.
गृहेषु वर्तमानोऽपि स साम्राज्यश्रेयान्वितः नासज्ञतेन्द्रियार्थेषु निरहम् அதிரர்கவது. அப்படியா?
And the second line, na sajjatendriyat, ij and ja, na sajjatendriyat.
नासज्जेन्द्रियार्थेषु निरहं मदिरर्गवत्.
एवं अध्यात्म योगेन, कर्माण्यनु समाचरन् पुत्रान् उत्पादयामास, breaking it, पंचार्शिष्यात्म, one word, पंचार्शिष्यात्म सम्मतान्. एवम् अध्यात्म योगेन कर्माण्यनु समाचरन् पुत्रान् उत्पादयामास पंचार्शिष्यात्म सम्मतान्.
एवम् अध्यात्मयोगेन कर्माण्यनुसमाचरन् पुत्रान् उत्पादयामास पञ्चाशिष्यात्मसम्मतान्
एवमध्यात्मयोगेन कर्माण्यनुसमाचरन् पुत्राणुत्पादयामास पञ्चाशिष्यात्मसम्मतान्
विजिताश्वं धूम्रकेशं हर्यश्वं द्रविणं वृकं सर्वेषां लोकपालानां धदारैकः पृथुर्गुणान्. Those are the 5 sons named in the first line. विजिताश्वं धूम्रकेशं हर्यश्वं द्रविणं वृकं सर्वेषां लोकपालानां धदारैकः पृथुर्गुणान्.
Oh, sorry. विजिताश्वं धूम्रकेशं हर्यश्वं द्रविणं वृकं सर्वेषां लोकपालानां ददारैकः पृथुर्गुणान्.
Rajesh, quick question on the first line. Is it Haryaksham or Haryashvam?
हर्यश्वं.
Oh, எனக்கு Haryaksham இருக்கு.
Ish, not. Oh, you mean Haryaksham. Okay, let me just check on that. Okay, Jayashree, I'll just check on that.
எனக்கு
Okay.
ஹரியஸ்வம் தான் இருக்கு. ஹரியஸ்வம்.
Ish, right? Not iksh.
No.
Okay, I'll check on that. Okay.
Okay. विजिताश्वं धूम्रकेशं हर्यश्वं द्रविणां वृकं सर्वेषां लोकपालानां ददारेकः पृथुर्गुणान्.
गोपीताय जगत्सृष्टेः काले स्वे स्वेच्युतात्मकः मनो वाग् वृत्तिभिः सौम्यैः विसर्गा here goes away गुणैः संरञ्जयन् प्रजाः. गोपीताय जगत्सृष्टेः काले स्वे स्वेच्युतात्मकः मनो वाग् वृत्तिभिः सौम्यैः गुणैः संरञ्जयन् प्रजाः.
गोपीताय जगत्सृष्टेः काले स्वे स्वेच्युतात्मकः मनोवाग्वृत्तिभिः सौम्यैः गुणैः संरञ्जयन् प्रजाः.
गोपीताय जगत्सृष्टेः काले स्वे स्वेच्युतात्मकः मनो वाक्वृत्तिभिः सौम्यैः गुणैः सम्यग्नयन् प्रजाः.
राजेत्यधान् नामधेयं सोम राज इवापरः सूर्यवत् विसृजन् गृह्णन् प्रतपंश्च भुवो वसु. राजेत्यधान् नामधेयं सोमराज इवापरः सूर्यवत् विसृजन् गृह्णन् प्रतपंश्च भुवो वसु. राजेत्यधान् नामधेयं
राजेत्यदान्नामधेयं सोमराज इवापरः सूर्यवद्विसृजन् गृह्णन् प्रतपंश्च भुवो वसु.
राजेत्यदान् नामधेयं सोमराज इवापरः सूर्यवत् विसृजन् गृह्णन् प्रतपंश्च भुवो वसु.
धुर्धर्षस्तेजसे वाग्निः विसर्गा next word here goes away महेन्द्र इव दुर्जयः तितिक्षया धरित्रीव ध्यौरिवा भीष्टदो नृणाम्. I wanted to say the meaning of some of these things, but I'll say it in the next class. We'll see if we can get through this. दुर्धर्षस्तेजसे वाग्निः महेन्द्र इव दुर्जयः तितिक्षया धरित्रीव ध्यौरिवा भीष्टदो नृणाम्.
दुर्दशस्तेजसे वाग्मिः महेन्द्र इव दुर्जयः तितिक्षया धरित्रीव द्यौरिवा भीष्टदो नृणाम्.
दुर्धर्षस्तेजसे वाग्निः महेन्द्र इव दुर्जयः तितिक्षया धरित्रीव द्यौरिवा भीष्टदो नृणाम्.
वर्षति स्म यथा कामं पर्जन्य इव तर्पयन् समुद्र इव दुर्बोधः सत्त्वेनाचलराडिव. वर्षति स्म यथा कामं पर्जन्य इव तर्पयन् समुद्र इव दुर्बोधः सत्त्वेनाचलराडिव.
वर्षति स्म यथा कामं पर्जन्य इव तर्पयन् समुद्र इव दुर्बोधः सत्त्वेनाचलराडिव
वर्षति स्म यदा कामं पर्जन्य इव तर्पयन् समुद्र इव दुर्बोधः सद्वेनाचलराडिव
धर्म राडिव शिक्षायां ब्रेकिंग एट दत्मा कॉमा आश्चर्ये हिमवानिव कुबेर इव कोशाढ्यो कॉमा गुप्तार्थो वरुणो यथा धर्मराडिव शिक्षायाम् आश्चर्ये हिमवानिव कुबेर इव कोशाढ्यो गुप्तार्थो वरुणो यथा
धर्माराडिव शिक्षायाम् आश्चर्ये हिमवानिव कुबेर इव कोशाढ्यो गुप्तार्थो वरुणो यथा
धर्मराडिव शिक्षायाम् आश्चर्ये हिमवानिव कुबेर इव गोषाढ्यो गुप्तार्थो वरुणो यथा
मातरिष्वेव सर्वात्मा बलेन सहसौजसा अभिषह्यतया देवो भगवान् भूतराडिव मातरिष्वेव सर्वात्मा बलेन सहसौजसा अभिषह्यतया देवो भगवान् भूतराडिव
मातरिष्वेव सर्वात्मा बलेन सह सौजसा अभिषक्यतया देवो भगवान् भूतराडिव
मादरिष्वेव सर्वात्मा बलेन सह सौजसा अभिषक्यतया देवो भगवान् भूतराडिव
कंदर्प इव सौंदर्ये मनस्वी मृगराडिव वात्सल्ये मनुवन् नृणां प्रभुत्वे भगवानजः कंदर्प इव सौंदर्ये मनस्वी मृगराडिव वात्सल्ये मनुवन् नृणां प्रभुत्वे भगवानजः
कंदर्प इव सौंदर्ये मनस्वी मृगराडिव वात्सल्ये मनुवन्नृणां प्रभुत्वे भगवानजः
कंदर्प इव सौंदर्ये मनस्वी मृगराडिव वात्सल्ये मनुवन्नृणां प्रभुत्वे भगवानजः
बृहस्पतिर्ब्रह्मवादे आत्मवत्वे स्वयं हरिः भक्त्या गो गुरु विप्रेषु विश्वक्सेनानुवर्तिषु ह्रिया प्रश्रयशीलाभ्यां ब्रेकिंग एट दत्मा इम आत्मतुल्यः परोध्यमे बृहस्पतिर्ब्रह्मवादे आत्मवत्वे स्वयं हरिः भक्त्या गोगुरुविप्रेषु विश्वक्सेनानुवर्तिषु ह्रिया प्रश्रयशीलाभ्याम् आत्मतुल्यः परोध्यमे
बृहस्पतिर्ब्रह्मवादे आत्मवत्वे स्वयं हरिः भक्त्या गोगुरुविप्रेषु विश्वक्सेनानुवर्तिषु ह्रिया प्रश्रयशीलाभ्याम् आत्मतुल्यः परोद्यमे
बृहस्पतिर्ब्रह्मवादे आत्मवत्वे स्वयं हरिः भक्त्या गोगुरुविप्रेषु विश्वक्सेनानुवर्तिषु प्रिया प्रिय प्रश्रयशीलाभ्याम् आत्मतुल्य परोद्यमे
कीर्त्योर्ध्व one word कीर्त्योर्ध्व गीतया पुंभिः is goes away विसर्गा कॉमा त्रैलोके तत्र तत्रः प्रविष्टः कर्णरन्ध्रेषु स्त्रीणां रामस्सतामिव कीर्त्योर्ध्वगीतया पुंभिः त्रैलोके तत्र तत्रः प्रविष्टः कर्णरन्ध्रेषु स्त्रीणां रामस्सतामिव
कीर्त्योर्ध्वगीतया पुंभिः त्रैलोके तत्र तत्रः प्रविष्टः कर्णरन्ध्रेषु स्त्रीणां रामः सतामिव
कीर्त्योर्ध्वगीतया पुंभिः त्रैलोके तत्र तत्रः प्रविष्टः कर्णान्ध्रेषु स्त्रीणां रामः सदामिव
सेकंड लाइन कर्णरन्ध्रेषु
कर्णरन्ध्रेषु
इति श्रीमद्भागवते महापुराणे पारमहंस्यां संहितायां चतुर्थस्कन्धे पृथुचरिते द्वाविंशोऽध्यायः।
इति श्रीमद्भागवते महापुराणे पारमहंस्यां संहितायां चतुर्थस्कन्धे पृथुचरिते द्वाविंशोऽध्यायः।
इति श्रीमद्भागवते महापुराणे पारमहंस्यां संहितायां चतुर्थस्कन्धे पृथुचरिते द्वाविंशोऽध्यायः।
Just a quick summary towards the last, like, from 56, you'll start seeing some of the names, Soma Raja in 56. So Surya in 56. So he's just comparing him, saying that, he was like moon god in some things, in the being very powerful and strong. He was like sun god. He, like, in the next one, it talks about Indra. So he was like very strong and commanding, like how Indra is. Then the next Dharitri, which is earth. So earth is very patient. We're going to see about this in the 24 gurus, which is going to come later. But earth is very patient. You can walk on earth, you can jump on earth, you can do all that. She doesn't react back. So like it's very patient and calm, like earth. And like Samudra. So he just starts comparing him to the various people, how like rain fulfills all the needs. He cared for all of them. Then in terms of like dharma, like Yama, he was his wisdom and senses were he was justice. He was, very just king, right? Like how Yamaraja is. His Kubera Iva Koshadyo, his wealth resembled that of Kubera. So like that, they just went and compared him to all of this is just comparing him to the various people who are actually there. And at the very end, because this is Maitreya telling, right? Not that Rama Avataram has happened yet. So he says, Pravishta Karna Randreshu Strinam Rama Sathamiva. So he says that all the, especially what Maitreya is saying is, when the saintly people who are all saints, when they want to hear your glories, and the noble women, the saintly persons and noble women, that's why Srinam. So all of these people, when they want to hear your glories, that means you're really great. So all those saintly people and all the noble women, for them it was Karna Randreshu, it was like nectar to their ears to hear about Prithu, very similar to how it is to hear about Ramachandra, how it is to hear about Rama. So that's so, he was that great personality, great incarnation, who's not well known, unfortunately, but is a great incarnation of all the things he has done and he's done. So with that, his greatness comes to an end. So next is the last chapter in Prithu Charitram, next class, where he just quits everything and he gets liberated. He and Archie get liberated. And then this is going to come to an end. Shri Hare Namaha, Shri Hare Namaha, Shri Hare Namaha. Gopika Jeevana Smaranam Govinda Govinda. Sadgurunath Maharaj Ki Jai. कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रिये वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Rajesh.
Rajesh. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Rajesh.
Thank you.
Have a good Memorial Day weekend. Bye.
Thank you,
Bye.
Rajesh.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.